I was holding our newborn. He had just drifted off after 45 straight minutes of fussing. His tiny fingers still gripped my shirt like he thought I'd disappear. I was sitting in the rocker, half asleep, neck stiff, shirt stained with formula and sweat, when my phone buzzed on the floor. I let it ring once, twice, then picked it up. A reel started playing automatically. No caption, just music. And her hair was done. Makeup perfect, that red dress I'd never seen before. Low cut, short hem. She was at a bar, grinning ear to ear, pressed against some guy who looked like he came straight off a cologne commercial. Then they kissed. Full on, open mouth, arms around his neck like it was the most natural thing in the world. In the background, I heard the voices of her friends laughing, screaming, toasting. Mommies need a break. I watched it again. Not to torture myself, just to be sure. To confirm I wasn't hallucinating from sleep deprivation. But it was there. Her tongue in his mouth, while I sat here with her newborn. Our newborn, or so I thought. No explanation. No context. Just pure, smiling, champagne-soaked betrayal broadcast to her 2,400 Instagram followers. Probably a few mutual friends too. Probably her mother. She didn't even try to hide it. I didn't scream, didn't throw my phone. I just stood up slowly, laid our son. My son. Back in his crib, kissed his head, and closed the nursery door. Then I walked downstairs, opened my laptop, logged into the airline account, and canceled her return flight. Simple, clean, no message, no threat, just subtraction. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, damn, that's cold, remember, I changed every diaper the first week because she said the smell made her nauseous. I held her hair when she cried from the afterpains. I made her oatmeal at 4 a.m. and spoon-fed her so she didn't have to move from bed. And then she posted that. She thought it was empowerment. A fun break from motherhood. A reel for the girls. But all I saw was the moment our marriage stopped being mine. And by the way, if you've made it this far, I'm just gonna say it straight. More than 97% of you who listen to these stories aren't subscribed. If this hit you even a little, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It actually helps more than you know. And yeah, it tells the team this matters. Thanks. Anyway, I didn't send her a text. Didn't ask for an explanation. I didn't even open her chat thread. What would be the point? I knew what came next. She'd panic. She'd deflect. She'd lie, then cry, then gaslight. Rinse and repeat. But I wasn't interested in watching that particular cycle spin again. So I started a different one. I opened the drawer next to the fridge and pulled out the unopened envelope I'd been ignoring for over a week. The one from the private lab. It had been sitting there since the baby was 3 weeks old. The result of a conversation I never thought I'd have with myself late at night when something about the math just didn't sit right. 9 months ago, we'd been in a rough patch. No intimacy. No effort. And then suddenly, she was pregnant. It wasn't like I didn't want to be a dad. I did. But something about the way she announced it, like it was news to both of us, planted a seed in my chest that refused to die. So yeah, I sent in the swabs. One from me. One from the baby. And I told myself I was paranoid. Insecure. Sleep-deprived. Whatever word she'd use to make me feel small if she ever found out. I sat at the kitchen table, the reel still replaying in my head on a loop, and slit the envelope open with a butter knife. I didn't read it right away. I just stared at the heading. Confidential DNA analysis results. Then I flipped to the second page. And everything stopped. Paternity. Excluded. The baby wasn't mine. Let that land. The baby whose name I'd chosen. The baby whose onesies I'd folded. The baby whose every hiccup made my chest ache with some primal instinct to protect. Wasn't mine. And somehow I didn't feel shocked. Not really. I felt weightless. Like a cold part of me had been waiting for this confirmation. I closed the file, put it back in the envelope, and placed it on the counter. Then I turned off the baby monitor, walked upstairs, and started packing a suitcase. Not for me. For him. I didn't touch him right away. I just stood over the crib, watching his chest rise and fall, slow and calm, unaware of the nuclear crater opening beneath my feet. His little mouth moved like he was still dreaming about feeding, and one hand twitched in that fluttery, newborn way that makes grown men melt. And yet I couldn't move, couldn't bring myself to reach in. I had just read the sentence. Paternity. Excluded. Printed in sterile black ink. No drama. No exclamation point. Just a confirmation of what I hadn't wanted to believe. I thought I'd scream. Break something. Rage. Isn't that what people do when they get gut-punched by the universe? Instead, I just stood there. A soft hum from the humidifier buzzed in the corner. White noise machine gurgling like a creek. I'd set that up myself, 2 days after we brought him home. Spent an hour reading reviews, comparing models. She'd laughed, called me neurotic. I'd called it preparation. Turns out I was preparing for the wrong thing entirely. I reached in and touched his blanket first, then his arm. Then finally I scooped him up. He fit in the crook of my arm like he always had. Warm, heavy, familiar. And none of him was mine. That truth didn't make him feel different. But it made me different. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't ache the same way. It was like the emotional tether had snapped. Not from anger, but from betrayal so deep it rewired something inside me. He opened his eyes for a second. Didn't cry, just stared. I whispered, "You're going to be okay." Then I laid him down, tucked the blanket tighter, and left the room. I turned off the baby monitor. I turned off being a father. Not out of cruelty, out of self-preservation. Downstairs, I poured myself a glass of water and drank the whole thing standing at the sink. I felt like a man sobering up from a decade-long dream. Marriage, fatherhood, stability. Turns out the whole thing was a rented costume, and someone else had stitched the seams. I pulled out a duffel bag and started packing. His things first. Formula, diapers, the soft blue hat from the hospital with the little bare ears. He looked ridiculous in it, but she loved it. I packed that too. One by one I folded the onesies. The little socks that looked like they belonged on a doll. The stuffed giraffe that still smelled faintly like baby shampoo. And then I did something even colder. I grabbed the file folder we used for legal documents and pulled out the birth certificate. Her name. My name. His name. I flipped it over and made a note on the back in pen. Not biologically mine. Confirmed via test. Then I took a photo of the document and the note and saved it in 3 places. 2 clouds and an encrypted USB. I wasn't going to let this become a courtroom circus someday. Let her explain it when she got back. Actually, no. She wouldn't be coming back. She didn't know that yet. But the gears were already turning. Quietly, deliberately. This wasn't revenge. This was preservation. There are betrayals you yell about. And there are betrayals so profound they force you into silence. Into order. Into action. I folded the envelope with the test results and slid it into a new file marked Custody Paternity Dispute, unfiled. Then I wrote a sticky note and placed it on top. Let her try. I took one last look at the monitor screen. Blue light blinking silently, showing nothing. Then I unplugged it. The house was still. No crying. No cooing. No lies being told in my ear while a reel played in the background. I finally sat down in the dark kitchen and stayed there until morning. The first ping came at 4:17 a.m. Where's my ticket? Can't check in. She followed it up with a shrugging emoji like this was some minor airline mix-up. I watched the message come in as I sipped coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. I didn't answer. I just let it hang there, unread, floating in the ether of her own confusion. 10 minutes later, "Hey, it says canceled? Did something happen?" She tried to call. Straight to voicemail. Not because my phone was off, but because her number was blocked. I'd done that before I even opened the envelope. Now the texts came faster, like her fingers were trying to punch their way out of a coffin she hadn't realized she climbed into. "This isn't funny. I'm standing here with our baby. Answer me." And then the one that almost got a chuckle out of me, if I hadn't been too far gone to feel anything light. "I'm sorry if I upset you. We were just being silly. I love you. Please call." Silly. Like getting drunk and kissing a stranger in front of half the internet while your husband raises a child that doesn't share his blood is the new version of silly. I opened the keyboard and started typing, "That's not my child." But I never hit send. I stared at the words for a long time, then erased them. Because she didn't deserve clarity. Not yet. Let her spiral. Let her sit on that cold plastic bench at the gate wondering if the airline screwed up or if maybe, just maybe, I had finally decided I was done being her safety net. I wasn't giving her a confrontation. I was giving her a void. I turned off notifications. Upstairs, the nursery was dark. The walls were bare now. The mobile above the crib was gone. I'd boxed everything. Every rattle, every soft blanket, every picture frame with pastel lettering that said things like, "You are so loved." She'd sent that frame to herself off the registry, posted it on Instagram the week after the baby was born with some long, Teary caption about motherhood being the most humbling journey. Now she was just another stranded passenger in Terminal 2, with no idea that her seat home was erased with one click. Meanwhile, I was making arrangements, legal ones. There's a phrase in our state's family code, voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. That's what she made me sign at the hospital. Smiling, half sedated, whispering, "Just a formality, babe." Turns out revoking that formality takes a bit of work. And a DNA test, which I now had. The call with the attorney had lasted 36 minutes. She'd been calm, concise, efficient. You're under no obligation to continue care for a child proven not to be biologically yours. However, any assumption of parental role may be argued in court. That part mattered. So I was careful. I documented the cancellation of the flight, the removal of baby items from the home, the medical files. I'd sent time-stamped photos to the attorney before sunrise. No room for ambiguity. Let her tell her Instagram followers I abandoned her. Let her tell her mother I was being irrational. The court wouldn't care what she told TikTok. And in the meantime, I was enjoying the quiet. It's a strange feeling, silence. When you've lived so long with someone who fills the air with dramatics, gaslighting, passive-aggressive sighs, and harmless flirtations that always walked the line of betrayal, silence becomes addictive. It was the sound of clarity. She sent one more message, hours later. "What's going on? You're scaring me. I'm coming home either way. I have rights." She really believed that. I leaned back in my chair and smiled, because she still didn't realize. She was never coming back to my home. She just hadn't reached the gate to nowhere yet. The house was too clean. That was the first thing I noticed when I stepped back inside. How unnaturally spotless everything was, like a model home staged for buyers. No toys scattered across the floor. No bibs draped over dining chairs. No bottles in the sink half full of sour milk. The high chair was gone. So was the stroller by the door. The nursery door was cracked open, but I didn't go in at first. I walked to the kitchen instead, opened the fridge. The rows of breast milk she'd labeled with the date and little heart emojis, gone. The magnets with pediatrician appointment cards, removed. Her motivational sticky notes for herself. "You've got this, mama." And sleep is temporary. Love is forever. Not a trace left. Even the faint scent of baby powder was gone, replaced by lemon-scented surface cleaner. It wasn't like someone had taken the baby away. It was like the baby had never existed. I finally walked upstairs and pushed the nursery door open. The crib stood in the center of the room, stripped down to bare wood. Mattress removed. No bedding. No stuffed animals. No mobile. Just an empty frame, like a skeleton of a promise no one could keep. The photos, her favorite ones, were gone from the wall. The one of her holding him in the hospital, hair matted and face blotchy but beaming. The one of me bottle-feeding him in the dark, half asleep. The one of all three of us, grinning like the future was solid. All gone. In their place, only the pale blue wallpaper remained. Little clouds and stars. So innocent, so smug. I stared at it for a while. Then I walked to the corner, gripped the seam where the wallpaper met the baseboard, and began peeling. It didn't rip cleanly. Came off in slow, stubborn strips. Long, uneven, curling like old skin. Fought me, or maybe I wanted it to. I kept pulling. Strip, strip, strip. It made a sound. A dry tearing, like cloth being ruined. By the time I got halfway through the first wall, my fingers were raw and my knuckles ached. I didn't stop. If she ever walked back into this house again, I didn't want a single molecule of that life to remain. No hint of shared dreams. No echo of the lullabies I'd sung alone at 2 a.m. Just walls. Blank. Honest. I took the trash bags with the baby clothes, clean, folded, never worn, and placed them in the hallway. Not donated. Not sold. Not sentimental. Just gone. As I sealed the last bag, my phone buzzed. She'd posted a reel. Again. This one different. A close-up. Eyes red. Voice trembling. Music soft and slow in the background. Some track called "Forgiveness Begins With You," or something equally performative. I didn't even need to hear it to know the tone. She was doing damage control. The caption said, "We all make mistakes. Motherhood is hard. Nobody's perfect." 1,000 likes. Heart emojis. Comment after comment. "Stay strong, mama. We love you. You're allowed to be human." No mention of the reel from the bar. No mention of the man with his tongue down her throat. Just curated sorrow. Manufactured vulnerability. She wasn't apologizing to me. She was auditioning for sympathy. I blocked her. Not just muted. Not ignored. Blocked. Phone. Instagram. Facebook. Venmo. Even Spotify. Gone. Let her cry to an audience of strangers. Let them eat it up. Meanwhile, I stood in the center of a half-dismantled nursery, hands covered in adhesive dust and heartbreak, and thought, this must be what freedom smells like. Not fresh air, but disinfectant, torn wallpaper, plastic bags filled with lies, and not a single sound coming from the baby monitor. Because it was off. Forever. The call came in the middle of a Tuesday I was trying to pretend was normal. I was at the hardware store, of all places, comparing swatches of paint for a room that no longer had a purpose. Something neutral. Something forgettable. I decided I didn't want anything pastel in the house ever again. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I saw the name on the screen. Diane. Her mother. I let it ring once, twice. Then answered. Hi, I said, flat as drywall. She didn't start with hello. Instead, I got sobbing. Raw, open, unfiltered grief. She said you abandoned the baby. Her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. Is that true? Tell me she's lying, please. I don't understand. I didn't sigh, didn't raise my voice, just said it. She never told you? There was a pause. Then suspicion. Told me what? That I'm not the father. Silence. Not the polite kind. The kind that breaks something. A small gasp escaped on her end. Then another beat of silence. And finally, a soft, oh no. I stood there in aisle 9, beside a pyramid of stacked paint cans and discounted brushes, as a woman who once called me her son-in-law in shining armor dissolved over the line. I could hear her pacing, breathing hard, her brain catching up to something she must have suspected but never dared to say out loud. She said the test wasn't accurate, Diane whispered. She said you were spiraling, that the baby looked just like your side of the family. He has your nose. No, Diane, I said calmly. He doesn't. More silence. Then, she wouldn't lie about this. I didn't argue. I just waited. And sure enough, a few seconds later, she betrayed herself. But she has been off lately, even before the trip. I didn't say a word. She kept talking, filling in blanks I'd never asked her to. She was so distant during the pregnancy, she said, voice growing quiet. She didn't even want me in the delivery room. Said she wanted space. And I thought it was hormones or nerves or guilt. Diane's voice cracked again. And that man in the video, I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She let out a choked sound, half cough, half sob. Oh God. I leaned against the shelf and ran a hand over my face. You should ask her for the test results, I said. If you really want to know. I believed her, she whispered, and it sounded like confession. I defended her. I told people you were overwhelmed, that you were under too much pressure. I said you just needed time. She let you believe that, I said. I told her to come home, Diane said, barely audible. I told her to fight for the family, that you'd come around if she just explained herself. I closed my eyes. Stop, I said, not cruelly, just firmly, the kind of tone you use to tell someone the bleeding can't be stopped. She left that reel up for 2 days, I added, while I packed up a life that wasn't mine. She didn't apologize. She didn't even reach out until her flight got canceled. She told me you were having a breakdown, Diane said, that you canceled the ticket out of spite, that she didn't know what to do. She lied, and now her mother knew it. It landed like a cracked rib. You don't hear the break, but you feel the collapse. Diane let out a trembling breath. What happens now? I looked around at the clean, quiet store. Empty except for an old man asking a clerk about drywall screws at the end of the aisle. Nothing happens, I said. It's already happened. She tried to say something else, but I ended the call before she could. I didn't want her apology. I didn't want her excuses. I didn't want her to tell me I was right. I just wanted her to sit with it. Because for the first time since this entire thing began, it wasn't me spreading the truth. It was finally leaking from them. I wasn't there to see anyone. Just wanted caffeine and silence. The kind of silence you can't get at home anymore, even when the house is empty. There's something about a coffee shop buzz that drowns out your thoughts instead of amplifying them. It's mercy in a paper cup. I was halfway through my Americano when I saw her. Sienna, one of her girls. Tight-knit friend group since college. The kind of women who take annual wine trips, post synchronized birthday girl reels, and refer to each other as soul sisters. Sienna was always the quieter one. Not the ringleader, not the instigator, but she never spoke against them either. She spotted me before I could disappear. Froze mid-step, coffee in hand. Her expression flickered between oh shit and maybe he didn't see me. I held her gaze. She walked over. Hey, she said, voice too bright. Wow, it's been a while. I nodded. Yeah, time flies. She sat down across from me without asking. Took a breath like she was preparing to cross a minefield blindfolded. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, fiddling with her coffee lid. I live 10 minutes away, right? She kept shifting in her seat, like the guilt was itching under her skin. She said you were taking time, that things were tense. I didn't want to intrude. MHM. Another beat of silence. She told us the guy was just a friend, Sienna said finally. There it was. The script. The version of the story they'd all been fed. Filtered. Sanitized. She said you saw the video and totally blew it out of proportion. That you'd been stressed, sleep-deprived. You know? I took a slow sip. Let her keep going. She said the kiss was a joke. That he was gay. That you misinterpreted it. That you were already pulling away before it happened. That she was desperate to save the marriage. But you shut her out. And you believed her? She hesitated. I didn't know what to believe. I leaned forward slightly, set my cup down. Did she tell you about the paternity test? Her face went pale. No words. Just a subtle recoil, like I'd slapped her across the table. No, she whispered. Didn't think so. She blinked hard. Swallowed. You're serious? I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my jacket and pulled out my phone. Scrolled through my files. Found the photo, the one of the lab result with the header visible and the section highlighted in yellow. Paternity. Excluded. I tilted the phone so she could see it. Not long. Just long enough. She gasped. Hand covered her mouth. Oh my God. I locked the screen and slid the phone back into my pocket. She told everyone what made her look forgivable, I said. But she left out what made her look like a liar. Sienna looked down at her coffee, suddenly unable to meet my eyes. I didn't know, she said, voice small. She didn't want you to. Another pause. Then she asked, why are you telling me this? Because you're the first one I've run into. And now it's your burden, not mine. She flinched. What am I supposed to do with that? I shrugged. Ask her. I stood up and tossed the rest of my coffee in the trash. Didn't wait for a goodbye. Didn't need a reaction. That part was over. As I walked out, I caught a glimpse of her through the window. Still sitting there, staring at the table, both hands around her coffee like she needed to hold on to something before it all spilled. Even her friends were starting to drown in the version of events she fed them. And I hadn't even begun talking yet. It started with a repost. Some random account that curates cringe reels grabbed her video and added their own little commentary at the top. Meanwhile, back at home, Dad's changing diapers. It racked up 200,000 views in the first day. By the end of the week, it had been stitched, duet, and memed into oblivion. Suddenly her moment of freedom wasn't a quirky mommy break highlight. It was internet shorthand for entitlement. A still frame of her mid-kiss, mouth open, dress riding high, friends clapping in the background. It became a template. People photoshopped captions over it like, when you leave your man to raise a baby and come back with a tan and a story. Mommies need a break? While your husband's doing 2 a.m. feedings. It hit Reddit next. A thread on r/public freakout titled, Wife kisses random guy while husband is home with newborn. Posts it like a joke. Screenshots followed. Then a stitched version surfaced with text overlaid. Cheating is bad. Lying is worse. Making it public while pretending to be a victim? Game over. The internet is brutal. But it's also weirdly surgical. Once a scent of hypocrisy is in the air, the wolves show up with receipts. And someone still don't know who leaked the test. Not the full report. Just a redacted screen grab. Paternity. Excluded. That was the tipping point. All that vague sympathy she was fishing for? Gone. The comments turned fast. You mean to tell me she had the audacity to kiss another man on camera and let her husband raise someone else's baby? She didn't make a mistake. She made a documentary. Imagine being this shameless and still thinking you're the victim. Wait, So she lied about the baby being his? People started dissecting her entire profile, old posts, captions, comment threads. One TikTok sleuth found a comment she'd left months ago on some dude's vacation photo. Missed this day face-blowing a kiss from a time she swore she'd been home with morning sickness. It snowballed. Her apology reel deleted. Her comments turned off. Then re-enabled. Then disabled again when people flooded back in with, "Where's the baby's real dad? Did you return the stroller too, or just the husband? Girl, what were you thinking?" She posted one last story, a black screen with white text. "I need time offline. Please respect my privacy." But it was too late. Once you turn your life into content, you don't get to slam the door shut when people stop clapping. Then her entire account disappeared. No more reels. No more mommy motivation posts. No beach photos. No wine nights. No captions about healing or finding joy in the chaos. Just poof. Gone. But the internet never forgets. The reel kept circulating. Reposted by new pages. Used in compilations. Turned into reaction videos. She became a cautionary tale. A walking, giggling PSA. Even her friends stopped tagging her. Stopped defending her. It wasn't just public humiliation. It was a full-scale identity collapse. The curated image she'd been polishing since the baby bump photos vanished in a puff of digital ash. And I didn't lift a finger. I didn't have to. She made herself the main character. I just stepped out of frame. Now every time someone searches her name, the first thing they see isn't a proud new mom. It's a woman making out with a stranger, while her husband rocks a baby that doesn't even share his blood. Her face became the thumbnail for betrayal. And she clicked publish all by herself. The email came at 2:41 a.m. Subject line: "I need to come home. Body. I've made a mistake. I wasn't thinking clearly. The trip, the video, it was a blur. You know me better than anyone. You know I'm not that person. I just needed to feel something again. But what I felt without you was regret. I want to fix this. We can fix this. Please, let me come home. No, I'm sorry. No explanation. Just vague admissions, emotional bargaining, and a generous helping of revisionist history." She made it sound like she took a wrong turn on the way to the grocery store. Like she hadn't detonated a whole life and expected me to keep sweeping up the glass barefoot. I didn't reply right away. I sat with it for a bit. Let her words settle into the air like spoiled perfume. I imagined her typing them out in some rented Airbnb. Sweating in the dark. Phone screen lighting her face. Hitting send with trembling hands and a false sense of hope. Then I opened my sent folder. Found the thread with my attorney. Forwarded it. No message. No personal note. Just the thread. Subject: finalized custody withdrawal, no paternal claim. The attachments were all there. Lab result, revocation affidavit, official letter from the family court clerk confirming the update. The digital equivalent of a locked door. She called. Immediately, my phone lit up, vibrating so hard across the table it nearly fell. I let it ring twice, then answered. She didn't wait. "You're his father," she screamed, voice raw. "You raised him. You fed him. You named him. You sang to him. Don't pretend that didn't mean anything." I listened, letting her spend the emotion, the panic. Then I spoke. "No," I said. "I mourned him. There's a difference." She went quiet. The kind of quiet where you know the oxygen's been sucked out of someone's lungs. Then came the sobbing. Real sobs. Messy ones. The kind that aren't meant for effect. Just grief unfiltered. "I thought you'd come around," she choked. "I thought once you calmed down." I cut her off. "Don't mistake my silence for softness. I didn't calm down. I clarified. Please. I already forgave you. That's why I'm not screaming." "You can't just walk away," she cried. "You raised him. He knows your voice. He reaches for you. And one day," I said, "you'll have to explain to him why that stopped. And it won't be because I left. It'll be because of the day you posted a reel." Another sob. "I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem anymore. Please, just let me talk to you. In person. Let me explain. I've seen everything I needed to. So did the rest of the world. I miss you. I miss who I thought you were." There it was. Final nail. She tried to catch her breath. Then whispered, "You don't even sound like you anymore." I looked around my quiet house, the fresh coat of gray paint drying in the hallway, the echo of emptiness that no longer felt like a wound, but like peace. "Good," I said, and I hung up. She didn't call again. For the first time in weeks, I turned my phone off and went to bed. Slept straight through the night. She showed up at the check-in counter in sunglasses and a scarf. Like anyone cared who she was. Like she wasn't already half famous for all the wrong reasons. The same airport she'd left through 2 weeks ago. Smirking, laughing, sipping airport mimosas with her girls, posting finally free with the airplane emoji. Was now a place she entered hunched, silent, alone. She handed the agent her ID with a forced smile. That shaky kind of cheerfulness reserved for people who know something might go wrong and are desperately trying to manifest a normal outcome. The agent typed, then typed again, frowned. "I'm sorry," she said. "Your reservation has been cancelled." "No, that's impossible," she replied, laughing the way people laugh when they're trying not to scream. "I'm on the 12:35 to. I see the booking here, but it was cancelled, for days ago." The woman turned the screen slightly. Cancelled in big red letters. Her face went blank. No, my husband must have," he said. "Ma'am, you'll need to purchase a new ticket if you'd like to board." She pulled out her phone, already dialing. Straight to voicemail. Again. The third time, she didn't even wait for the beep. Just ended the call and sent a voice message. Breathless. "Please, I'm at the airport. I don't know what happened, but I need to come home. I have nothing with me. I don't." Then she noticed the new message in her inbox. From me. Just one line. "You flew out as someone's wife. You come back as someone else's child's mother. I'm not part of that return." That was it. No signature. No salutation. Not even a timestamp. Just a digital bullet. She sat down right there in the middle of the terminal, suitcase still upright, hand still clutching her passport. Her whole body folded in on itself like someone had punched the air out of her. People passed her by. A few glanced. No one stopped. To them, she was just another woman having a breakdown before boarding. Her mascara smudged under her glasses. Her hands trembled. The agent gave her a wide berth. She tried texting again. Desperate now. "Please, I'll do anything. Don't leave me like this." No reply, because she still didn't understand. I wasn't leaving her. She'd already left me. In 1,000 little ways, long before the real, long before the paternity test, long before the reel of apologies that weren't apologies. She left when she decided her impulses mattered more than our reality. She left when she handed out the truth like it was confetti. Shiny, fun, and disposable. I was just the first one to admit she was already gone. So now she sat, grounded. Not by me. By the weight of her own unraveling. There was no plane. No return. She could book another flight, arrive at the gate, even land in the same city. But that door, the one labeled home, was no longer at the destination. She stood on the front porch with the same suitcase she'd rolled through airports, hotels, and her new circle of freedom. Its wheels were scuffed now, and the handle wobbled slightly. Like it too had grown tired of the journey. She tried the key, twice. Same house, same lock, but nothing clicked. She jiggled the knob with rising frustration. Then knocked, soft at first, then louder. No answer. She looked to the mailbox. It no longer bore our name. New vinyl letters spelled out something else. A name she didn't recognize. One that didn't belong to her. A stranger's name, just like her status. She stepped back from the door, confusion giving way to rising dread. Peered through the window. The furniture was different. Gone were the navy curtains she'd picked during her earth tones phase. The family photos had been replaced with abstract art. A bookshelf stood where the baby swing used to be. And then she saw him. A man in a navy t-shirt, barefoot in the kitchen, holding a toddler on his hip. The child was giggling as the man stirred something on the stove one-handed, expertly shifting between the burner and the high chair. Her face pressed against the glass like it would answer the question in her chest. Was it? No, not him. Not her husband. Just a man. Living a life. Cooking dinner. Raising a child. A new life had moved into her old one. Then she heard it, tires on the driveway. A garage door rumbling open. She turned. It was me. Driving a different car now. Nothing flashy. Just different. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second. She stepped forward, lips parting to speak. Maybe to cry, maybe to scream. I didn't even slow down. The car rolled smoothly past her as if she were a ghost. And I pulled into the garage like nothing waited outside the frame of that door. She ran to the side, banged her hand on the garage as it began to descend. Please, just talk to me. I looked at her, just once, through the gap as the door lowered, through the late afternoon light slicing across her face, and the mascara tracks that had never really dried since the airport. I didn't yell, didn't open the door, didn't offer an ounce of sympathy. I just closed the garage. Her fists pounded once more. Then the sound stopped. And for the first time since she walked out of that house with her head high and her heart half invested, there was nothing left to say. She stood alone on a lawn that no longer needed her. A porch that no longer welcomed her. A home that had deleted her like an expired password. You kissed someone else. I had written in the final message she never replied to. I kissed closure. That was the last word. The one she could never edit, never crop, never caption into something prettier. Because her story ended the night she made it public. Mine began the night I stopped waiting for her to come back.